What is up, beautiful people? It's your boy DJ Reminisce, the Punjabi music geek, and I'm back with another album review. Today, we're going to be reviewing Amrinder Gill's brand new album, Judaa 3, which is produced by Dr. Zeus. For me personally, when I hear that Dr. Zeus is coming out with some new music, it really excites me. I'm a big fan of his music and I'm a big fan of his production. Amrinder Gill, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated Punjabi singers in the industry right now. On previous projects, this combination of Dr. Zeus and Amrinder Gill have worked really well. Will it work on this album? Let's find out. I think it's fair to say that when Judaa 3 was announced, it's one of the most anticipated albums that people are looking forward to. The other previous albums that they worked on together were phenomenal, man. They had some classics on there, bangers. Judaa 3 is an 8-track album. Well, really 7, because one of the records is just a ballad version of the other one. And honestly, music-wise, Dr. Zeus did not disappoint. I mean, come on, folks. He's Dr. Zeus, you know what I'm saying? The standout records for me on this album were Band Darwaze, Bug, minus the rapping, because I thought the rapping just did not suit this record at all. Desi, Necklace was my favorite record on the album. Banger of a song, man. Gussa, yeah, I don't think this record should have been on the album. Unfortunately, this is one of those records on the album that I did not like. It had a very, very Bollywood feel to it. It just wasn't for me. Muqabla was a great record, but I found the problem with that one. I don't know what it was. Something in the headphones or in my studio just wasn't right. There's that snare or something, and it just kept hitting on one side of the stereo imagery, and it really messed my head up. So keep that in mind when you're listening to that. But other than that, it was a good song. And of course, you have that Band Darwaze ballad mix, which is really good as well. I mean, both versions are good, just depends on what mood you're in. Now, one of the records I didn't talk about, and it's a shame, but Chal Jindiye was this release off this album, and it was a good overall song. Well, it could have been, but there was a major problem with that song. Would you like more vocal with that autotune? I think the autotune on this record really ruined that song. It was just too much. It's too blatant. I don't know. There's something was just off on it. One of the major problems for me on this album was that Amrinder Gill had way too much autotune on his vocals. I mean, he's a great singer, man. He doesn't need it. Sure, slightly, subtle bit, a couple of songs here and there. But like I said on Chal Jindiye, it was just brutal. Speaking of Amrinder Gill, I mean, what can I say? The guy is a sick vocalist. I love his voice. I love his tone. I love the way he projects. I mean, he had some really good vocal performances on this album. And like I said earlier, he is very, very underrated. The compositions on this album were really good, lyrically fantastic. I mean, overall, it's a great sounding album. And that's because of Dr. Zeus. The bottom end on this album, wow. I love the mixes on this album. I love the musical choices. Dr. Zeus, man, the guy is killer. Him and Amrinder Gill have always made a great combination, and it shows on this album. If we go back to my favorite record, Necklace, like, listen to it. It hits hard, man. Like, the drums hit you in the chest. There's that beautiful bass line. It's just a great overall sounding record. That hard-hitting music and beats also comes through in Bug, another great record on this album. Again, minus the rapping. I hear it and read it all the time on social media. Dr. Zeus this, Dr. Zeus that. His music all sounds the same. You know what? That's a load of nonsense, because his music is phenomenal. You do realize producers have a sound, right? His sound is world-renowned, and his sound combined with Amrinder Gill's vocals has always been top-notch. That's a fact. As good as this album is, it did have its flaws. I mentioned earlier about some of the records, but for me, there just was no, what's the word I'm looking for? It didn't have that outstanding hit of a record on this album. I mean, if you compare this album, which you have to because it's called Judaa 3, to the other two, you know, like Judaa, the first album was unreal. The second one was dope. This one is not too bad, but compared to the other two, honestly, it comes in third. Now, that's not to say that this is a bad album or a good album. That's for you guys to decide. Anyhow, now it's time for my verdict. I'm giving this album a 3.5 out of 5. This album's got some soul. It's got some character. But like I said, it doesn't have those standout records that you'd expect from Amrinder Gill and Dr. Zeus. This album for me is a beautiful, soulful vibe. But unfortunately, it's not a classic. And there's nothing on there that was like, wow, this is dope. I mean, there's some good records on there, but there's nothing on here that's on my playlist that I would repeat and listen to over and over again. But I'm telling you, as a Dr. Zeus fan, musically, the album was fantastic. As an Amrinder Gill fan, he killed it on the vocals. But unfortunately, with some of the effects like that blatant autotune on some of the songs, I felt that Amrinder's vocals couldn't shine through. But at the end of the day, I think as an Amrinder Gill fan, you're going to love the album. As a Dr. Zeus fan, like I said, you're going to love the album. Hope you guys enjoyed today's review. If you want to see more reviews just like this, please click on the Eye in the Sky. And of course, please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. That way, a whole bunch of other people get to see what I'm trying to do here. Watch out for the next review coming soon. I'm boy DJ Reminisce. Peace out.